we like the guys we have, and our guys have been here. They've been working, understand how we do things, what we do, and so we're excited to see who steps up next.
DeMeco Ryans believes in his guys. He's excited to see who's going to step up, but I'm a little nervous after the news we all feared was coming about Stefon Diggs showed up on Tuesday. The star wide receiver is done for the year with an ACL injury. He went to plant on that right leg in the win over the Colts, and it didn't look good in the moment. The worst was what we all feared, and ultimately that's what came true. And now Stefon Diggs is done for the season. The 4 big takeaways on this one presented by my friends at Prize Picks, the best, easiest way to play daily fantasy. Play your first 5 and get $50 thanks to Prize Picks. It starts with the Texans on Thursday. Now, we knew Stefon Diggs wasn't playing regardless of how bad his injury is, but the Texans go into this one very shorthanded. A wide receiver room that had a conversation about maybe being the best wide receiver room in football is suddenly one of the least impressive wide receiver rooms in football as they head into this Thursday night contest with the New York Jets. Tank Dell is the top guy in this wide receiver room. Xavier Hutchinson, Robert Woods, and John Mechie behind him, and then Steven Sims as well. The Texans do have 3 players on the practice squad that also play wide receiver, but the players that we just talked about have accounted for about 18% of the receiving production for this Texans team this season. Just 375 combined yards this season between Dell, Hutchinson, Woods, Mechie, Sims, and whatever the practice squad players are. They actually haven't played in a game just yet. That's a tough draw for the Texans, who are having trouble protecting the quarterback, and you know the Jets are going to do everything they can to slow down the key of this offense, which is Joe Mixon. It's huge for Tank Dell. He has got to be a big-time receiver. He's got to step up in this moment. He's got to get closer to 2023 Tank Dell, when he had one of the best separation scores from opponents in all of football. This year, the separation ability has dropped by about half, according to the advanced statistic average separation. And Dell has got to be better, and he's got to be the guy, the stud on Thursday night. And I know that the Jets know that he is the guy to pay attention to, but he's got to go out there and win his opportunities. And CJ Stroud and him have to find some of that 2023 success that has eluded them for most of 2024. Then it's anybody's guess on who the next guy is going to be. Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie, Robert Woods, not much to speak of their seasons. Woods is a reliable, short route over the middle type guy. Xavier Hutchinson does some of the same things that this offense asks Nico Collins to do, but he's obviously not Nico Collins. And we saw John Mechie succeed on that big crossing route late in the game that helped set the Texans up deep in the Colts territory. So maybe the scramble drill will be a big Mechie advantage when CJ Stroud's got to get out of the pocket to avoid some of that pressure that the Jets are going to bring in this matchup. But for Thursday night's matchup, this is one of the least impressive wide receiver rooms in football. There were high hopes for what Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie could be. If there's anything left in the tank for Robert Woods, he's got to show it on Thursday. They've got to get a lot out of those guys. And if they choose to use Steven Sims in the wide receiver sets, get something out of him as well. The tight ends will be important in helping out those receivers as well, succeeding over the middle of the field and getting some of those tough yards. We saw Cade Stover break a tackle and steal a couple of yards against the Colts. You may need a lot more Stover and Schultz than what you have seen in the previous few weeks from this Texans offense with a depleted wide receiver core. Big takeaway number 2 on this one is the Stefon Diggs situation. Man, I'm gutted for Stefon Diggs. He seemed to be having a ton of fun playing for this Texans team. He relished the opportunity and the role that he was placed in, which was a veteran that was here to show up, be impressive, be one of the key factors to this offense, and also impart some of his knowledge onto the Houston Texans wide receiver room, which was made up of mostly young guys. And I think back to Nico Collins saying Diggs has taught him so much he can't even list it. Tank Dell talking about how Diggs would just walk up to him and start talking about being a better wide receiver, start talking about how they break out of routes. And just various intricacies of the position. And Diggs seemed to really enjoy being on this Texans team. He brought some intensity and some energy to the equation. So I feel very bad for him for this injury popping up. A guy that's basically never been seriously injured in his NFL career now has a very serious injury pop up in the middle of the season. Another element of this that is tough for Stefon Diggs, he's set to be a free agent. And I could see where the big grand plan was, hey, you get the contract reduced to a one-year contract, you get to go have a big season, and then you go be a prized free agent for somebody else. But now that's going to be much more difficult to achieve for Stefon Diggs coming off a very serious knee injury. Now, Diggs' abilities weren't about speed. He was a precise route runner and used his abilities and knowledge of the position to get open. So that's not a huge downgrade for him, but you do wonder about when he would be ready for a team next year, that he may have to change teams. How useful is he? Could the Texans maybe bring him back on another one-year deal, take care of him till he's ready to go at some point next season and get out there and help out the Texans as almost a mid-season acquisition? The Texans may want to move on for a more longer-term option as well. But that is another tough element of the Stefon Diggs situation, is he was set to be a free agent. And if he continued on this pace, some team was going to make him an impressive part of their offense with an impressive contract. And that seems to be an unlikely scenario. I'm just gutted for the guy. He had been a pleasant player to talk to in the locker room, and some of the issues that you heard about in Minnesota or Buffalo, they hadn't been present to me in my observation of Stefon Diggs and understanding of his role with that team and in the locker room, and that is tough. A quick moment for my friends at Prize Picks, the best and easiest way to play daily fantasy. Play your first 5, get $50 thanks to my friends at Prize Picks. Don't miss out on that great offer. Use the code Stoots when you sign up. Use the link in the description down below. Let's put together a Thursday night football entry. You got this little calendar here. You can use it to apply to just one game. Let's see. What do we like from this? Let's get into those passing yards. CJ Stroud. You can change the yards with these little buttons here. He's going to do a lot more than that. Receptions, I mean, Tank Dell is going to be the guy in this matchup. I like that. Rushing and receiving touchdowns, I certainly feel like Breece Hall is going to get in there. It feels like the Texans always allow opposing teams to get right there on the goal line. Then it's running back time. And hey, it's the Texans. It's Kaimi Fairbairn. You know he's going to kick some field goals. Let's put a 10 to win 100 on this. That's how easy it is. You can flex it so that you don't have to win all the pieces of your entry to still win, but we're going for the big one here, a 10-timer. That's how easy it is to put in an entry on Prize Picks. Right along with me on this. Play your first 5, get $50, and you will have some fun with the best and easiest way to play daily fantasy. It's my friends at Prize Picks.
Yeah, man, it sucks. It's not easy. It's not, something that I just can have a whole bunch of words for. I just hoping, and just trying to just wrap my mind around, what happened. But it's tough. You can't really try. You try to think positively about it, but it's not a bunch of positive thoughts. And I just really feel bad for him. He's worked extremely hard. I think he was having one of them, the best times he's ever had on the team. At least that's what he told us, So, I just feel for him and praying for him, and just hoping, that, he keeps his head up high and, he'll bounce back even stronger. So, it just sucks.
Now, we talked about the short term without Stefon Diggs Thursday Night Football. What's the long term, the rest of the season look like without Stefon Diggs? Well, you're going to get Nico Collins back at some point. He'll resume his role as the number 1 wide receiver on this team. And it'll be a little bit tougher for Nico Collins because there won't be as much that can help take away some of the attention and pressure that teams are going to place on Collins as one of the top wide receivers in all of football. But you'll get him back, and hopefully you get him back ahead of that Lions game on Sunday Night Football. You put him right back into the offense, and he picks up where he left off. Obviously, Joe Mixon, who had become one of the most important players on this team, he becomes even more important. They've got to be able to run the football, open some things up for the rest of that passing attack. And when Mixon has played a whole game, he has been a guy that had put the team on his back, got to continue to do that as well. Obviously, when Collins gets back, that changes Tank Dell's role a little bit, but it was Collins and Dell last year that were a part of an impressive rookie season for CJ Stroud. Perhaps you could recapture some of that with Collins and Dell and no Diggs in the equation. You could get a little bit more out of the passing attack than you had from Tank Dell when it's Collins and Dell, similar to what it was last year with the Texans when those two were successful as the top wide receivers on this team. Obviously, when Collins gets back, that adjusts Robert Woods, Xavier Hutchinson, John Mechie's roles on the team. But if somebody has a big Thursday night against the Jets, then you're going to want to put them on the field in the coming weeks after that, even after Nico Collins returns. And obviously, this passing attack has been okay throughout the course of the season. At one point, they were the top passing attack in football. They had the dip against the Packers. That wasn't good. In the face of a lot of pressure, CJ Stroud was still very good against the Colts. If the offensive line could just gel, solidify, get to an average level of production, that passing attack could get a little bit more dangerous than what we have seen, especially with Collins coming back, feeling a little fresh after his little stint on the IR and removed from that hamstring injury. Remember, the hamstring was troubling him a little bit before he had to go on IR. It wasn't just something that just showed up randomly in that one game. So life after Diggs, it won't be easy, but there's avenues to success without the Texans having to add anything to the roster. Now that brings us to the final point. Do you go and try to add a wide receiver to the equation? We've already seen the likely division winners around the AFC go out there and add. The Buffalo Bills added Amari Cooper. The Kansas City Chiefs added DeAndre Hopkins. Remember him? And Josh Uche from the New England Patriots to help their pass rush. The Baltimore Ravens added Deontay Johnson from the Carolina Panthers. Now, I don't know that Johnson is some giant game changer, and actually Cooper showing up for the Bills just helped Keon Coleman, their rookie, get better. Hopkins is going to be a nice addition for the Kansas City Chiefs, but do you feel like you have to keep pace with those teams in addition to getting a third or fourth wide receiver into the equation if you're the Texans? Remember, they had Tank Dell and they had Nico Collins, and they were chasing a third wide receiver all offseason. Remember the Keenan Allen rumors? They obviously end up with Stefon Diggs, and even the conversation about maybe a wide receiver in the draft. Remember how upset CJ Stroud was when Ricky Pearsall went to the San Francisco 49ers in the first round. So the Texans clearly believed they wanted a little bit more than just Nico Collins and Tank Dell. If that is indeed the case and they still want more and you haven't got a lot of faith that it's going to be Mechie or Hutchinson or Woods as the guy that's going to step up and be that third wide receiver on this team, then, hey, go out there and try to find something in the trade market. The Texans have got all their picks except for their 6th-round pick in 2025, and so they've got some things that they can make some moves with, maybe veteran names that just don't make sense on teams that are going nowhere and have young guys, or perhaps an older player that's fallen out of favor on another team because a young guy has ascended, or a young guy that's been trouble on another team, never quite got his footing, and the Texans see something in him. We'll go through a list of names a little bit later on the channel, but think about a trade, and if you feel like you need to add to the wide receiver room, you certainly got the ammunition to do it. And yes, you were starting from ahead of those teams in the AFC that we mentioned that made those trades, but you have moved back while they have kind of caught up to you a little bit. So maybe that might spur some action from the Houston Texans as well. What say you? What's your biggest takeaway from the Stefon Diggs injury? Let me know in the comment section down below. On your way down there, give me a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Don't forget to watch SNL with myself and Landry Locker of the Locker Room each and every weekday here. No Thursday show, but we got a Wednesday show, Friday morning show recapping Thursday Night Football for you as well. So don't miss out on that. So follow his channel, check my channel out. You're here already, so you're checking my channel out. Thank you for that. Don't forget to check out our friends at Prize Picks. We put together a pretty fun little Prize Picks entry earlier in the video. If you missed that out, go check that out there in the middle and see if you can get on board with us and my friends at Prize Picks. Play 5, get your $50 when you use the code Stoots, STOOTS, at the link in the description down below. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Can't wait until we talk Texans again soon.